Okay, so my goal for this video series is to walk through how to create a basic game using processing, classes, array lists, and hopefully some file reading at the end. This is the this is the demonstration I used when we first introduced classes. I made these things called bubbles. They're appearing on the screen. They have some data stored with them. Each thing that you see on the screen is a bubble. We have a bunch of data about them. Each one is going to keep track of its color. I can change its speed. They're all moving at different speeds. I think I did something like increase size. Depends on which one I showed you. I can increase size, decrease size, all that stuff. Okay, so what I want to do is show you how I created this in processing. And my goal for this video, the set of videos, is to introduce you to how to use classes in processing, give you the basic idea of a game, and try and not. There's a million things we could do with this. That's kind of the beauty of it. But I'm going to try and focus on just how would I get this into the game. I want you to code along with me, but I also want you to keep in the back of your mind how could I do something slightly different for my game? But hopefully this will give you a good starting point to move on from. So let's look at the code for this. All right, so I'm gonna start with a fresh file. Everything should be loaded in here. I have my processing, papplet, everything's all extended. Hopefully I don't have to cover this. This is all stuff we did previously. Okay, so in here, yeah, great. So let's get started by creating our bubble class. We're gonna define what do we want to have going on in our bubble. I'm gonna code this kind of, oops, Java, not Java. Don't get mad at me. All right, let's make Java. I gotta do all this. Public class bubble, like that. Okay, so for my bubble, I'm just gonna start out with some stuff. I know we're gonna have to add more as we go. I'm gonna make a private int x, private int y. We're gonna do private, let's see, we need probably size, private int size. I'll add some stuff in later, but I wanna replicate for you what it looks like to write code for this. This is probably how, when I originally created the bubble thing, this is what I started out with, and I just kind of added stuff later on as I went, and that's just the nature of writing classes. Oh, I want to add this feature? Okay, let me add in that code later. All right, so for these values, I need to set up these values. I need to, when I create a bubble, I should be taking in a few different things. I should be taking in some y values, x values, y values. Actually, size I'm not going to take in. I'm going to say size is just going to be a default value to begin with. I probably won't go through coding the entire popping bubbles thing. I want to try and add in important elements, but I might add in some other stuff that I didn't do previously. I do need to declare what all these values are going to be, but I just don't need to. I could say by default size is going to be 50. We're taking in these. That looks good to me so far. We can pop back to the main class in here. We're going to create our first bubble. Bubble first one. I don't know. Setup. So we're going to declare this bubble up here because we want it to be visible across our entire class. Because I might need to be able to use it in draw. I want to declare it in setup. I might want to use it when I click. So I can declare this up here as a global variable. We're going to say first one is equal to a new bubble. And then we're just going to choose a random position, 50, 100, whatever, somewhere on the screen. Maybe I'll do it over a little bit further. And I'll do it down a little bit further. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to create a bubble. If I do this right now, oh, well, I didn't set up my settings, so let's do that first. Let's do size 1200 by 800. For this computer, you could change that to be whatever fits on your screen. But for this one, that's plenty. Great, so I have my screen. Okay, I have my screen, but I created a bubble, but where the heck is that bubble? Well, the problem is right now is I stored this data, but I'm not actually saying, hey, appear on the screen. So of course, the computer doesn't know what to do. All right, so that does get us into an important and maybe first tricky point of using classes and processing in particular. When we do this, we have this screen, or I like to call it our canvas, our main area. We could call it scene or canvas. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with canvas, but you could think of it as a scene as well. We want to make sure that Bubble has access to that. This screen is actually a product of the app class. It's actually specifically a product of doing this thing because we're extending papplet, which we won't really talk in depth about unless you really want to talk to me about it. But essentially what this means is that when we make a bubble, we need to say, hey, let me share the screen with you. So what we can do is we can pass in this. We're going to say what screen, we're going to give access to the current app to the current screen. On our bubble, then we need to go back on the other side in here. We need to say that this is going to accept in, and this is just where you just have to code along with me. We're going to accept in a papplet. I'm going to call it C. Okay? Hey, now it's not mad at us anymore. Now we need to do something with the papplet. We're going to store it. I want it to be a variable inside of my bubble class. private p applet. I said I was going to call it canvas, so I will. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to have a p applet, a kind of a screen variable called canvas, and then in our constructor, we're going to say that, hey, that variable is going to be equal to c. All right. So that's kind of getting us to set up that now the bubble is aware of the screen, and it can do stuff with the screen and do stuff with the p-applet class whenever we need to. So let's do the very first thing. We're going to do public. We're going to do public. We're going to do void. Let's just make a little display method. We want to make sure that our bubble can show up on the screen. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to, in order to access the screen, I need to call canvas first. Canvas, period. And I have access to any of my processing functions. I can do random things with this. I can do like my random method. I can do circles. I can do rectangles, whatever I want. I'm going to draw a circle. And I'm going to base it on, it needs x, y, and I guess the size. So I'm going to say x, y, size. Great. I go back into my main class. Again, if I run it now, still nothing is going to happen because I didn't actually call the display method. So I need to go into first one, right, the name of my bubble. And I need to say, hey, show yourself. And we'll hit play. And great, we have a bubble there. Yeah, it's kind of small. Don't like that. Let me change that. Let's change that to 250. Yeah, that's big. Maybe too big. I'm gonna have a couple of these on here, so let's put that down to 150. Let's try that. 150. Okay, like it. All right, so what's next? All right, so we have a class. I think we have the basics of a class. Let's pause it for here, and then we're going to start doing some stuff with our object in just a second.